Hi, everybody, and welcome to this segment of True Ghost Stories. With me today is Alyssa Schofield and her sister, Haley Malika. Now, they grew up in a haunted house. Ladies, tell me a little bit about that.
We lived in this house on Melody Lane for a few years. During that time, we had some kind of spooky things happen, but the strange part about it is that while this was happening when we were kids, Haley and I never really talked about it. It wasn't until a few years ago where we were actually around a campfire talking about spooky things that we realized that we had shared this experience and these weird dreams. Haley, do you want to start kind of talking about just like what the house was like in general?
Feeling wise, like atmosphere. Yeah, it just had like kind of like a creepy vibe about it. Dark, like a dark feeling. When we talked about it around the campfire and found out we had the same exact dream, I mean, even like to this day talking about it, like gives you like goosebumps.
Growing up, this was your place, right?
We only lived there for a couple of years. Like we moved around quite a bit when we were like very young.
Just the both of you had this kind of like connection to this place. Do you know any of the backstory?
Yeah, I think Mom actually tried Googling it like a month ago, and I think she said that someone died in that house.
I mean, I haven't looked into it either. It's weird because it's something that sort of comes back, it haunts you a little bit, because we have these conversations every once in a while about things that we remember about the house. I mean, it's a totally unassuming house. What's interesting is that it wasn't just the house that was creepy. It was also the neighborhood that was creepy in our dreams. What was the dream that you had?
And thinking about it, it reminds me of like a Freddy Krueger, like Nightmare on Elm Street kind of situation. In the dream, and it's always nighttime. It's never during the flipping day when this happens. When you pulled into our neighborhood, if you kept going down the road, there's this house at the very, very end of it. It had these huge wrought iron gates, trees that like came up over the road. And it was just dark. There's something at the end of the street always. It was just that creepy feeling. I don't know, Liz, what was yours? Same?
It was very similar. So there's a couple of variants. So I would always be walking down the hallway from my bedroom and into the den. And one corner of that den was always just like black pit. So dark in this corner. And I just knew like in the marrow of my being that if I went over there that I would die. I always felt like I was getting sucked into it. And it was usually about the point where I felt like I was like losing that control that I would wake up. If I was able to get away from the weird darkness in the corner of that room, I would walk down the street to where those like gates were. And it was just like really heavy, ominous, oppressive feeling. Like, again, that like if I went through this area that I would like, it would mean like death or harm to myself.
Did this happen often? I mean, how many times did you have these dreams?
I would say like maybe every night, if not every other night.
Every night?
Yeah. The part where the other neighbor down the street comes in, I was always walking to the house. Like we were just at nighttime, pitch black, just walking to that house. And it's like, it was like you were like drawn to it. But like during the daytime when we were outside playing, it's kind of like nothing even happened. I know I was kind of like still terrified during the day to like ride our bikes down that way.
So you're sitting around the campfire, and who brought it up? Who brought up the dream?
I think it may have been you, Haley. I vaguely recollect reacting and being like, oh my God, I had dreams like that too. That is actually where we started talking, because we had like exchanged the dreams, and then you and I started talking about the weird figures that we saw.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was actually the shared dreams are one thing, but this is really what like super creeps me out still to this day. There was one occasion in specific that really was terrifying where I was asleep in my bed and I woke up in the middle of the night just to this feeling of just like malevolence. Like, you know, when you walk into a room and you just know that the other person in the room is just furiously pissed off at you and you are just in so much trouble. It was that feeling. It was dark in my room, but there was still like an outline of a figure standing in the doorway. It's like pitch black, and there was like a single glowing point of like red light that you would identify with like the cherry of a cigarette. Both of our parents smoke. So, you know, it was like, Mom, Dad, and no reply. And then it was gone. And then I was just like, ah, and like pulled the covers over my head. And then I felt something like pulling on the covers from the bottom of the bed. And I just like held on for dear life and until it like stopped, and I was just like freaked out the rest of the night. And I don't know why, but I never brought that up to my parents.
I had the same exact thing. So, and I can see it like as if it like happened today. I can picture it. I'm on the top bunk in our bunk beds. I had sat up in my bed and I just saw, and like she said, it's like black, but it's like it's like black, like as in it's like velvety, like just the way how dark it was, like in the doorway, standing there, and you could see the outline of the hat, and again the like tip of a cigarette is what you saw. And you say dad because I thought it was my dad. It looked like a man's figure.
Yeah, I also got a masculine vibe from it.
Yeah,
so that's really weird to like
I have goosebumps like all over my body right now. It's creepy, and to say dad and not get a response. And then I just remember I laid back down. I didn't have like the tugging of the blankets like Alyssa did, but it's just that feeling like it, like whatever that was, I was really angry and I wasn't about to get up out of bed. I mean, but again, I never brought it up to my parents. Like I said, in the morning, it's like nothing even happened. But then like nighttime came and it was a totally different thing.
So what kind of hat? I'm just curious. Was it like a top hat or was it?
For me, it was like kind of like a sun hat, like a, not a sombrero, but.
Okay, like almost like a straw hat?
Yeah, right.
Like that?
Like Alyssa's hat.
Like my hat?
Kind of like that shape. There you
it
go.
was
Like
me.
I would be terrified. Did you have any troubles like right before bed? Like would it be in the back of your minds?
No, like literally like waking up in the morning is like nothing happened. And then going to bed, it was like wiped clean. I still have dreams about that house though. And that's the scary part. To have that dream still is, yeah, crazy.
So you both do? Alyssa, you too? You still have dreams?
I haven't had a dream about that house in a really long time. When I do, it's usually about the backyard. Backyard of that house was massive. It was huge. The plot of land that house was on, you could easily fit 3 houses on. It was really big. There were 2 landmarks in the backyard. The first one was there was like this white wooden like treehouse, like playhouse that somebody had built. On the far right side, there was an old flatbed trailer. That area of the yard, for whatever reason, like I didn't go over there. I got a weird vibe when I went over there. We had a dog at the time, and like our dog wouldn't even go over there. But one thing that I recall about going back to your question about like getting ready for bed and sleeping, one thing that I do recall that like Haley and our youngest sister Lauren don't, there were nights where like Haley would come crawl into my bed. Her and Lauren would complain about the lights in their room. Oh, do you remember that? Yeah. I mean, what were those lights?
I don't know, because it's not like our bedrooms were on like our neighborhood street, and it was a secluded, like a private drive, so people didn't like drive up and down it. I could understand if like it was like my neighborhood now where I get cars constantly, but yeah, there was just really bright flashes of light. But it's so weird because it's not like I was awake seeing it. I know I was asleep, but I could see the lights flash in my eyes, and it was always coming through the window. And to this day, I have no idea what that light was. We didn't have, our street light was down towards the corner. It wasn't directly in front of our house.
Yeah.
As if someone was sitting there with like a flashlight, just like back and forth, like flashing it through the windows.
Haley, do you believe in supernatural events?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah.
Is it primarily because of this experience?
Yes. And when I was younger, Alyssa can totally attest to this. When I was younger, I had day terrors, night terrors, whatever you want to call them. Again, this like black spider webby looking thing came out of the corner of the wall. and it was almost like you were just like sucked in, and I couldn't do anything else and scream at the top of my lungs. And my mom said she would try and like talk to me and like get me out of it, and she couldn't. She'd sit there and like shake me, and I'd still be screaming and staring right up at the corner of the wall. And the really weird thing is we've only lived here in our condo for like a year. I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 months ago that I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, dozed off, and then I woke up gasping for air, very faintly saw like this black like lacy thing like hanging in front of me, and I kind of like shook my head and like, you know, blinked a couple times and it was gone. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like 5 maybe, Liz. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's happened twice since we've lived here, which is really creepy. But yeah, I mean, so that's another reason.
And Liz, you as well.
Based off of my, you know, general interest and also choice of dress, I have to. It's like a prerequisite. But I mean, in all honesty, yes, I do. I do specifically because of those experiences. There is a piece of the human being that isn't accounted for, like after death, if you want to call that a soul or just like energy. But I think that if there are traumatic things that happen, that energy can be left behind in a place. And that's why, like, you know, asylums where people were experimented on and whatnot, it's like as soon as you step in there, like you feel it, whether you believe or not, whether it's psychosomatic or not. But I do think that there is something.
Maybe the person in your place growing up was maybe a little angry, maybe angry that they left, angry that they couldn't be with their loved ones anymore, something. And I would be curious to look that up. You see a picture of him wearing a straw hat. That's pretty good evidence, right? I mean, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to figure that part out.
I know. You don't need
if
that.
If you find out, don't tell me.
Yeah, just for 2 years and you have all these stories and still these feelings to this day. That's really jarring. Girls, thank you so much for joining me. It means so much. Thank you for sharing your story with everybody. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And thanks to Haley and Alyssa. And yeah, Scary and Haley, please try to get some sleep tonight, okay?
I will.
So,
All right, great.
While your mom was talking about ghosts upstairs, what happened when you guys were playing hide and seek?
So my friend was babysitting this girl named Zelle, and we were playing hide and go seek in the dark. And we left the door cracked for them in the room they were counting in. And Ellie says that she saw something peek in the bedroom. And my friend's mom checked everywhere in the house and there was nothing there. So I say it was her eyes playing tricks on her. It's happened to me before.
There seems to be some debate. Who went Uh-huh. Okay, what happened?
Oh my God.
That
scared me.
Can I get your side of the story?
What happened to you? What do you say?
I farted.
You farted.